welcome to Nature's Neighbor. I am your host, Melanie Blankenship, joined with my co-host, Josh Carmichael. Carmichael Environmentalist, gosh, you can see what kind of day it is. Carmichael Environmental, but at the same time, Melanie of Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest, Crescent Valley Meats. You know, we got a little
cold
bit of
wintry day.
Cold wintry day. Holy moly! Let's talk about changing of the seasons in drastic. Yesterday and during the day it was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's cold and wet at night with fog that we had. The soil is wet, but it's still not.
It was super nice for a few days,
windy.
And we didn't get much wind yet, which was nice. Like we had a really still day. We had
Winds have been
the 60 people down there
kinda offshore.
working with us. So yeah, we had a really, nice couple days of weather after that rain and compacted everything that we had graded.
So you were at a friend's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we did a big Friendsgiving with the Northern Chumash Tribal Council down there at the Halama Valley Ranch. And so, yeah, we had,
Have a good
kind of a full
turnout?
house. Yeah.
Good.
And, really good. When the aunties and uncles brought down some fresh salmon from the mountains. And so we had a big feast, and we had put in probably, a few hundred plants from our citrus grove to our native hedgerow to,
So what's the
Cherry
intent?
Lane.
What's the intent of this garden?
It was all, essentially food production on the property.
Mm-hmm.
So just a ranch property that they had just gotten, sort of serving as like the headquarters and their horse program. And so it just really was maintained by a real kind of conventional, landowner before, who had just been roundupping everything they said, and just nothing was planted and nothing was permanent. There was some palms and lawn, and it sort of had that kind of a look around the house. So there's some oak groves there still on the property, which is awesome. It leads down to a creek and a lot of open space and acres that kind of butt into, I think, a golf course below them beyond that. But able to put in all kinds of orchard trees and a lot of the food and medicine and basket weaving plants that we could all use together.
Yeah.
With the tribal folks. So really great way to button up all the erosion control that was not on the property yet. Mm-hmm. Just real sandy hillside. So water and the soil had been running away. So we did lots of earthworks there, lots of on contour swales, lots of bioswales, and we're able to get everything really in the ground that we had hoped to. So it was a really nice day.
That's awesome. It was a beautiful weekend to do it. So, you guys had a little bit of moisture. I couldn't believe that actually Santa Barbara County, which that's where you were, received more rain than we did in this last couple of storms that we had, which is unheard of in a sense, especially this early in the season. But I guess,
interesting direction or how it landed.
This is my thoughts on all of this. It's like, where did we come to this whole, thinking that there was going to be a pattern of seasons, or just because it's November, the weather's supposed to be instead
we
of
have our own cycles that do change.
we do have it,
now
but
it's way haywire.
But naturally, it was instinctual. It was based upon what we sensed, what we smelled, what we felt, what we tasted, right? That's what it used to be about. Yeah. Now it's because Google said, right?
Because the calendar said it's
the calendar
this day.
said, and who printed that calendar, right? Where does these times and dates really come from? And I've been speaking of these topics for years because somebody who journals and keeps track of things, and when it comes to weather, or when it comes to consumer request, or because realistically as a farmer, I'm going to take notes that, a customer is asking for, or, this lady was asking for more gluten-free, but she's the one who buys more regular. So trying to balance that out, there's things like that as a business person as well as a farmer that I'm trying to keep track of what people are looking for. So I know what to go grow,
the trends,
right?
Yeah.
I know what to raise or harvest so that I can, capture what people are actually, what they're actually needing. I'll be honest with you, going back for the last 25 years, it's all across the board. And it's literally, here's a comment for you. So I've recently sized down my company, and then now I have boxes of paperwork, right? That I gotta, do away with, keeping my paperwork for 7 to 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
But I was going through some old stuff, and my son asked me, he goes, "Hey, Mom, we were used to do this, but now we do it this way. What changed?" And look at consumers that were consistent and loyal where did all these people go, right? Like we had a list of things, right? It was crazy because that era, we passed the Food Safety Modernization Act. It took a little bit of time before it really started to implement. But realistically, from 2004 to 2011, we were going through this huge transition of food access. Mm-hmm. People don't realize how much access we lost by passing that regulation, but at the same time is consolidation of big companies, right?
Yeah.
And taking big companies taking
so
over
less
little
food
ones
types and sources
just for their labels,
yeah.
right? They just wanted their labels. They did away with their
Sure.
industry, but they just wanted their label. So we consolidated big companies. We had more words in the grocery store like organic and regenerative and all these things, but yet we actually had less farmers and producers that were actually producing that for. Now we went through all these crazy nonsense of administrations, right? We have the trades and we have this regulation and this paperwork needed and blah, 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 right? So we have all this. Literally, I have a box that I was literally going through watching how consumers started to ask for different things and change. But why? Because once these companies started to consolidate, everything was about, hey, look, you can get, I'm just going to say it, Burt's Bees at Walmart. Like these were used to be small companies that had quality product.
Yeah.
But everybody looked at that front label. Nobody looked at the back label and looked at it, all the difference in the changes, right? But that's a personal care product, but food did that too.
Yeah.
Food drastically changed. Now we're in an industry and an administration that is trying to cap trade in how we import export, which is really starting to show how we don't produce anything anymore.
Yeah.
And now we're also having an administration that wants more natural based products, and they want the labels to match. And yet now it becomes the war of corporate America.
Who gets
and
there
then
first?
Yes, but at the same time watching, even in a small little business, in a small little farm, and listening to what people ask for. It's crazy to me to see how easy marketing manipulates and changes direction in industry.
Yeah.
And understanding politics, understanding how Wall Streets of America, the Wall Street world of America, drastically changes the way we live. Miguel and I were talking, and I'm not going to talk about it because there's too much to unfold, is traditions. Do we have traditions anymore? Do we have where we sit down at a table and have Thanksgiving realistically anymore? I'm just asking that question. I don't want to answer it. I don't want to answer it. And the reason is because I'm already noticing what's happening. Okay, so it's a trend to have this beautiful Martha Stewart style dinner table, right? With the big turkey in the middle and the stuffing shoved up inside the cavity. But does anybody really know how to cook a turkey anymore? I'm just asking. You do? Oh, right on, Miguel. But like,
I'm gonna have fun with mine this year. Yeah.
But like, okay, but what? Is that? And everything has to match and everything. We're supposed to make it look like Martha Stewart.
Yeah, I think the image is greater in America than the substance. Unfortunately, I think that's sort of the basis
but what is
of
that?
this.
Yeah, what's the
they
purpose?
want it to look a certain way because they feel like that is,
Is
success
that the tradition?
or tradition, but they don't really know, how to follow the sources to get to that point.
Yeah, nobody understands.
People can have tofurkey now if they want.
Yeah. Oh God,
So
the chemicals.
it's-
The chemicals. Do people not realize the amount of chemicals that are
I was
in
just
that
talking
product?
about that. Yeah, like a fake meat product. We'll just call it that. A lot more.
Eat mushrooms.
Yeah.
Wait until you see what's
Eat
in the
real
back of my
food.
car.
Eat real food. I
Eat
think
real-
that's our message.
Well, speaking of real food,
find
it's,
it.
it's important to understand knowing your sources. Like, yes, we're going to talk about turkeys, and super excited that I am Crescent Valley Meats, and we can raise. I had a friend that met on the phone, right? His name was Ernest. He's down in San Diego area, and he raises heritage breed turkeys. And I said, Ernest, I have our delivery guy. It's going to be down there. Do you have any fertile turkey eggs for sale? I don't want birds. I just want eggs. And he was like, yes, I'd love to sell you some. Okay. Well, and he's Ernest, and he literally was like, well, I'm afraid they're not going to be as fertile, and they're not as fresh as I want you to give. I'm just going to give them to you, right? And I'm like, you're going to give them to me? He's like, yes, you've done. He tells me I help him out. Whatever. Yes, I do, but I don't. I wasn't asking for anything. Ernest gave us quite a bit of turkey eggs. Do you know that every single turkey egg hatched in our incubators? So guess what? I have Simon and
Christmas turkeys.
Simon has a lot of turkeys,
Yeah.
and now we have heritage breeds. So we kept, our healthy females and our healthy toms, and we're gonna start hatching and getting those eggs and hatching those. But we have beautiful turkeys to harvest. How are they raised? They're open pasture, fed good wholesome food. Simon grew a huge garden this year from
Eating
Nature's
all
Touch.
the pests, yeah, in the
Nature's
garden.
Touch's veggie plants, all the byproducts of that garden, what didn't go to feed humans went to feed those turkeys, right? And then at the end of the season, when everything started to frost back, Simon let the turkeys in and lets them air,
Free range,
yeah. And then he's rotating on fields because guess what? He lives, his farm is in flat land and gets a lot of sun. Because they're flat. I'm in the valleys and canyons. I don't get as much sun.
Yeah.
It's already dark at
Yeah,
my ranch,
sure.
right? And so, it's better for poultry in the wintertime to be raised in his location. And so that's what the turkeys at Creston Valley Meats is selling. So to say, the price per pound, we literally I price analyzed everything, right? All the subsidies that we provided for the feed for those chickens, the chicken houses that Simon had to build and the pens that he had to build so the coyotes and the neighbor dogs would not come in and break in and
Eat all your turkeys,
kill all the turkeys. Because just because we want it people don't realize everything wants to eat poultry.
Oh, yeah.
And so, raising those is to understand what it actually takes. This whole concept that we're not even talking about the price of eggs anymore. Like, look at that shop talking about, eggs are too expensive anymore.
They just absorbed it.
They just absorbed it. And yes, we're starting to get to that time of the year that eggs are going to start to get harder to get, so they're going to get a little more expensive, right? But why is that the most important discussion when people don't eat what it costs to produce that or where it's coming from? We're so become marketed and brainwashed that if it's on the shelf and it has the right label, it must be good and safe and clean and it's healthy for me. And yet nobody understands how the 2004 to 2007, 11 really hit the big marker. But then every year after that, there has been new consolidations, new changing in what can and cannot be done
the
when
labeling
it comes
is
to
very
food.
tricky, and the corporations getting
When
in
did
the
we
door.
ever become buying by a label when it came to food?
Yeah, well, we usually didn't have a label, and I think that's kind of a beautiful thing in our area still is that, I've been getting eggs from, the Friends Farm that we just worked out this weekend, and, we have so many things that we're growing or, can go to a market and not have to deal with packaging or deal with, that kind of marketing because, they come in and they have made those words like natural,
Doesn't even mean
flavoring
anything.
or, the way things are raised. Like every label is pretty loaded, and being, reliant upon, I guess, sort of urban infrastructures, people are just saying, okay, well, this is what we have to eat and this is what we're going to do. I don't think enough people really think about, where this bounty's come from or what we're seeing. I mean, I think of turkeys this time of year.
It's like the tradition. It's like
that's what's running around.
how manipulated we have become, but also because of politics or media, social media, all of this stuff, right? But it's also the way that we have been marketed to. But we've also been so marketed that we don't have traditions anymore. But we also don't have basic common sense when it comes to survival. Because what happens if trade actually really kicks and people can't get pharmaceuticals and people can't get additives and preservatives? Because realize none of that's manufactured here in this country, right?
It's all been banned.
That was first. That was easy to come in, right? But then we've been outsourcing manufacturers of food products, right? There's not very much food manufacturing going on in this country anymore. It's been outsourced and it's continuous.
Down that door and start eating what was local and what was available. I mean, you'd have to be a pretty,
Josh,
I guess.
Can you imagine, this is an awful thought, but could you imagine on the average, just in San Luis Obispo County, if that shifted that quickly, most people would not know what to eat. Most people would not know where to go to get food to be able to survive.
Or how to create
How about,
it. Yeah.
I mean, COVID. COVID wasn't that long ago. Like, I'll be honest with you, it was the most busiest time of my career. We had lines out the door. Yes, they all came to me, and it was grateful. They came to, I mean, look at when they
The Avocado Shack blew up during that time.
All of us did. And the sad thing is like the gluten-free comment. I was cracking up because I talk about this all the time. All my gluten-free customers that we were so avid about only getting them gluten-free, they could not have anything other than gluten-free. When COVID hit and they couldn't get gluten-free, all of a sudden they didn't care. They dropped shit and quickly went to regular. And I'm like, whoa, 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 you can't eat that. Oh, I don't care, I need bread.
Wow.
Why do you need bread? You shouldn't need bread.
Yeah.
Bread is something that that was a poor man's food. That was something that in traditions, you broke bread because you were snacky. You were it wasn't something that we were supposed to eat.
Well, it was the whole meal, essentially.
Because
they couldn't get a lot else to put on the plate.
It's like milk. Understanding what milk is. Why does it become this, like we feed our children dairy products, right? I'm a dairy product. Yes, I love ice cream. I love whole whipping cream. Strauss's whole whipping cream is like my everything, okay? I can't have coffee without whipping cream in my coffee, okay? So I am a huge, butter. There's nothing better than Strauss's sweet butter.
Yeah, butter's great.
There's nothing better than melted butter on bread. But to understand what bread and dairy products and starches really do to the body, what do? They make you feel full.
Yeah.
They get rid of that, they curb the hunger. Right.
Yeah.
And so, it's crazy to me, like once like finances really start to, like back in the day, finances became tight for Americans. What did they first all start to do? Start making bread with people. All you need is wheat and yeast and water, and it's like to understand to have that tradition of making bread. People don't even know how to make bread. And we created a bread machine, and then all of a sudden bread started getting made from everywhere else, and so nobody even pays attention. And now all the chemicals that are in bread, so that bread will stay soft on a grocery store shelf long enough, because all of us
I can't
who
buy
make
bread that way anymore.
Make bread, you make it. It's hard the next day. You know what I mean? You make breadcrumbs the next day, and after that it goes to feed the chickens or the ducks. And it's understanding where all of this is coming from. It's, we had traditions. People had their calendar of things that they did as a tradition, right? They had their spiritual beliefs that they sat down and they believed in it. And we still do, but it's very morphed in different ways now. And we're not accumulating, but it's also because we have lost our basic sense of what it takes to survive, right?
Yeah,
what are we surviving on?
We talked about that a lot. Like, why do we eat, certain foods at certain times of year? And, this is when those winter squashes are here, so they can be put up over a long, winter. And they give us those vitamins and things that we need that, we're not getting from all the daylight. And just the way here, seeing turkeys on the side of the road made me think about, this is part of, what you would have in your diet if you're here. We're getting mushrooms right now.
My heritage turkeys will not taste like those ones. And especially if you come and get some from Nature's Farm.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you're feeding them pretty well.
Those turkeys are very well fed because the turkeys don't stay out of the onion fields. Especially right now because all the onions are starting to pop in. Yeah. And I'm like all getting excited because I'll go get, just cut some green tops for soup or whatever. I go out there and they're all topped already. And I'm like, oh, turkeys. They had already topped them for me, So it's the wild turkeys, no matter how much fencing I put up or think I have,
they get into everything.
Wild turkeys are awful.
Oh, yeah.
So, but even if you hunted one from ours, I'm gonna be honest with you, those pen
the
feathers.
tannins and the acorn stuff can be tough. I mean, it's definitely taste, but
my palate is just accustomed to a beautiful plump turkey that was raised on a green pasture, fed a little bit of grain that is good source grain and a lot of scraps from the kitchens, and that's how.
Well, we've done a lot of that to our foods to make things richer and better
Sweeter.
for us. So, and that's something like even that is what we've lost is just that ability to even have
big time.
The connection to land and agriculture way beyond even like we were talked about creating these food forests for, kind of the property with the tribe this weekend. It was a lot of things that, people wouldn't notice. We put in a ton of elderberries. We put in a ton of toyon berries. We have acorns. We're talking about doing an acorn gathering. But, we put in a lot of, citrus and avocado and things that work really well in that climate as well, that we can, put together because, people are so far removed from those traditions.
But see, look at how changed that is too, because back in the day, it was, you only plant citrus. You only plant natives. And I struggled as a business owner of a nursery grower, right? Because I didn't see the purpose of only being a vegetable grower of summer crops, even though they sold better, right? People always think about gardening, again, marketed too.
And that only feeds you one side of the year.
They plant, they plant in, April, March and April, and then they don't plant at all. And I'm like, where do we get this notion that it's a one time and that's all going to feed you? I am constantly planting. And even within my fields, there is nothing more gratifying than let's roll it back. Being so mad at the junk jays that sit in the tomato fields and peck at every one of your perfectly,
a hole in each one.
Perfect, Omar Lebanese heirloom tomatoes that were averaging about 3.5, 4 pound each tomatoes, right? Beautiful heirloom tomatoes. It's a Lebanese heirloom.
Yeah. Took all season.
The junk jay pecks at it in the garden, thinks he's, Mr. Cool or she, but then guess what? I go to plant some leafy greens next to the field or the rows that I had the tomatoes growing. Guess what's already popping?
More tomatoes.
all the rotted tomatoes that the blue jay didn't get and started and rotted too fast, and the seeds already are starting to germinate. So now I'm grabbing those and putting those in a greenhouse, but so they don't die in the frost. But
getting something out of it.
Even in a frustration moment, I'm still getting something out of it. But it's that constant planting, it's that constant management. It's realizing too that being in the soil often, I'm more familiarized with my own health. I'm familiar, and I don't have to be dirty in it all the time. I'm just connected with it, looking at it, smelling it, walking on it, being a part of it, and understanding that I can't move forward unless I become more familiar with what I'm actually standing on, and understanding the whole picture of what I'm trying to go for, and realizing I am up against a multi-generational situation that happened 25 years ago, that started to happen about 25 years ago when marketing became education. Marketing is a way that people know. They are not. Yeah.
Where's the beef?
Where's the beef? People know marketing. They don't know reality. They don't know what's real and what is not.
Yeah.
And that is where it's. I feel bad for teachers in a classroom now because why would you go to school when you have ChatGPT? And why would you go to school when Google knows it all? There's always that. There's the social interact. There's that. The direct learning capability, but there's so much argument now because there's all this information, but what is real and what is not.
I was just looking at something like that today, and it was saying, why do you read? You have to read so that you can build things in your own imagination and have problem solving and critical thinking skills when everything's already filled in for you. The image, everything, like a book versus a movie. And then way beyond that now, it's just something that we're going too fast. And I think that's sort of the whole point. Is like the biggest problem I think anymore is kills traditions is time. People aren't making bread because they think that's going to be too much, or why don't we buy this or that instead of raising an animal for the holiday, or raising foods for the holiday, or something that way.
Too, like it's also the disconnect of. I was talking about this last show when I used to go out and shadow people, to learn. But look at how busy all of us think we are. I'm just going to put it that way because even myself, I'm like, where did time go?
Yeah.
What did I do? Like, what am I missing? What did I forget? Like, I keep doing that. And I'm like, time is going by so fast, but it's like there's so many things that I still want to do. There's so many people I want to still hang out with. And where did time go? I do what I can to make the effort of time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you honestly, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
But is it because I'm being overmarketed? Am I thinking I have to do something when I really shouldn't have, don't need to do it? But I'm also realizing too, like, back in the day, we used to have farm gatherings. We used to not be afraid to have the neighbor come onto our own property and do things. And it's weird to me now to realize, like, who am I? I'm a property owner, a couple business owners. My husband and I have owned businesses. How weird is it that I feel vulnerable because I own something? Why is insurance so important in all of our lives now? Why? I mean,
it's the lack of trust of knowing each other, that becomes when you need to use money. Mm-hmm. When it's people you don't know, then that's where money becomes that sort of common denominator. But when we know people, that's why it's really great to have a lot of people come help us and plant, It's like, what are we doing together? It's like, hey, who can take time out of their day, their schedule to come down and visit and help this,
so
whole
the question's
community
going to be
space.
for me because I just put that out there on the show, is why them and not us? Well, sovereign nation versus independent. Check that out. Google that one, guys. People in our community do not know that tribal bases are sovereign nations. And people don't know what that means. Well,
they had a pot of money that had to be used.
Exactly.
They were only able to get something
I wish I
from
had a
the
pot
USDA.
of money that needed to be used.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the USDA gave them 2 months, so they're like, we need hands.
Yeah.
They only have so many helpers and so many of us that can, plan it, do it and get it done.
I want to be a sovereign nation.
Yeah, well, I think we need to look more to each other, hopefully, in a community. And like we always talk about with accountability, like how can we put more time into something together to get more out of it? People hopefully walk away with something more, even knowledge or foodstuffs or something, from doing exchange or.
I'm going to throw something different at you because I am getting a lot of people asking me, what am I doing? And, we can talk about human consumption all day long because that's what our goal has always been. But in my life, I laugh because my family always picked on me because I always had pets. I always had several dogs or cats that I always adopted or I found or, don't ever remember when we used to go to the grocery stores and they used to have people giving away cats out in the front. Yeah, I always came home with one.
Got a puppy from my bank branch.
My mom started to not take me to the grocery store because of everything I came home with. So, it's like it became that kind of thing, right? Okay, so this is who I am. And I've always been, and yes, I am a farmer rancher that has always had animals, okay? But I am also that person that understands a farm life, and I am also the Grim Reaper, that I have to make the decision at times when it comes to raising food and what I do. At times, there's times when I cry when a plant dies because of how hard I kept it alive. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But I'll be honest with you.
All lives are
I still struggle
precious.
in taking my honestly clean, beautiful raised animals to process, but I also know the purpose of what it is. I'm going to side note on this one. And we're at Crescent Valley Meats, and we have our USDA processing plant, and I raise buck goats. So I contact the dairies, local. I'm losing that option too because there's a bunch of dairies that are no longer doing business anymore. But I contact every spring, and I say, hey, I want to buy some bucks from you.
Yeah.
I don't want you to vaccinate them. I don't want them. I'm like, I want them intact. I just want to buy bucks.
Billy goat.
I'm not a breeder, so I buy several billy goats and I tether. I bottle them and then I teach them how to tether so they don't choke themselves. And we put them on tethers all around the ranch. And that's
weed control.
I can't keep up with weed whipping. I can't get batteries or fuel enough so I use goats, right?
It's more natural anyway.
And then I raise them up and then I harvest them for pet food. And people go, pet food? Well, Crescent Valley Meats, Simon, has a beautiful raw pet food line that he started manufacturing years ago that we now get to celebrate, and we ship product all the way down pretty much to the Mexican border and then all the way to Auburn, every other week to the north, every week to the south. We are delivering raw dog food that we are manufacturing, that we are buying animals locally or we're raising them locally for our pet food line. And it's crazy to me because, again, here's another marketing Wall Street disconnect, reality of what we're supposed to be feeding our carnivore pets.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people are like, aren't you afraid of E. coli? I'm like, well, you realize that everything that we harvest is ran through USDA. Yeah. It is human grade.
Yeah.
Okay? Everything is clean and it's tested. We know the source of everything that it comes in. We also are avid about being clean, about how we manufacture, what we're doing. That's why we freeze things so we don't have to do additives and preserve. We do a bunch of different things. We have so many different recipes now for raw pet food because of the amount of clientele that have built this with us. But it's crazy to me to talk about this and realize there's just a pocket full of us that have been feeding raw products. I started feeding raw to my dogs, and my kitties get it too, but I started feeding it because I raise animals, right? I sell my beautiful chickens and beef and piggies. I harvested 3 coonies the other day. So coonies are a shorter, wider pig. Yeah. They're not as big as and so everybody was picking on me at the plant. Where'd their legs go? We got belly, but we have no legs. I'm like, you guys don't pick on me. But their meat was beautiful.
Oh, nice.
But so I sell all of my meats. I feed my family first, and then I sell everything through Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest. But there's byproducts. There's always byproducts. No matter what you think, how you're going to cut, what you're going to take, you have byproducts.
Yeah.
And that's where I would take all my byproducts and I feed it to my dogs, the dogs that are protecting the ranch, that keeps the coyotes and the skunks out of the chicken pen and the turkey pens and everything else. And then nothing goes away. Everything has to go full circle. That was my way of justifying making sure that I never wasted a life, right? It's not a something. I'm not wasting something. I'm not wasting a life because I truly believe that every life should serve a purpose. Yeah. And if you don't have purpose, then why are you living? Yeah. And if you are a nuisance to the overall picture, I'm not going to be that person for a human. I'm going to be that person for my farm and ranch that needs to make that decision to keep the healthy balance going so that we can all serve a good purpose and leave what we started better when we keep moving forward than what we started with.
I mean, this is the way. Everything, has a sacredness to it. And so everything we do, should be with intent and with purpose and done in a good way. And that is really something that was really recognized through the Village Way. Everyone had a role. Everything that we would take or harvest, would have a purpose and a meaning. Mm-hmm. And so therefore everything has more value, and then you have more things. Mm-hmm. And we've sort of, like you said, we've just letting a lot go. We've taken a lot for granted, and we've pinned it down to very few things these days. I
have to make you laugh on this because Cody delivered. I'm not going to repeat his name, right? Because we all gave him a name because in our farm, the food animals do not get names. They just, they're loved, they're cared, but you're not going to name him T-Bone. Yeah. We're not going to do that. That's not who we are. But this one did get a name purposely because we feel like at times things happen when you become a pet. It just different. So this goat became a name. And he came, not a very nice name, so I'm not going to repeat it. So I'll be honest with you. It was a very rewarding feeling of it was time when he got loaded in the trailer, right?
Yeah.
But USDA, they're like, Melanie, how could you harvest him? He was beautiful, right? He was super pretty. And he has beautiful horns. And I'm like, give him a minute, and you'll see why I needed to harvest him. Sure enough, he's naughty. He was not. It was time. He was too aggressive.
Yeah,
that's hard. He was not appropriate in what he would do when you would walk by him.
Yeah.
And so it was like there was this. I ended up having this conversation with inspectors today because it was like, they see the product, the product, right? They see the animal come in, they are inspecting for overall health and humane handling treatment and all that. Yeah. And, they laugh at mine because I'm gonna not let any of my animals stress, right? Mm-hmm. No stress. But at the same time, that's me. I think when I die, I don't want to know I'm dying. I want to live fulfilled. I'm going to live every day to the best ability I can, because I don't know when tomorrow is going to, what it's going to bring. But, and so, he got off the trailer easily. He was calm, but, they were picking on me about, how pretty he was, and, how, you're this and you can make that decision. I guess I shocked them. But at the same time, I ended up having this conversation with them was, when do you know when? As a farmer, I would not wish this on anybody. Honestly, I would not wish most of my business bills on people, right? Like I pay it and I'm hustling because I got to pay those things, right? But at the same time, as a farmer, I know I have to make these choices. I chose to make this life. I chose to be this person. Ask me if I'm crazy, maybe. But I am so grateful to everyone else that has made that choice so I can eat clean, wholesome food.
Yeah.
And what makes me sad is that I am easily questioned about getting that asked of me, like how you can do this. But yet I ask that simple question of, don't you eat meat? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, where do you get your meat? Well, grocery store. I'm like, don't you feel ashamed when you look at how many tri-tips you got to pick from one?
When
and
you
there's
know
only
the process.
2 tri-tips to a cow, and yet where did all that other product go, right? People don't realize that the industry itself and the byproducts that it creates, yes, it's going to things, but not what most people think it's going to. And it's like, where is the value of that life that was taken when we are doing this, right?
Yeah.
And this is where it's like, if I could reach out to anyone and say, promote, there's, different types of sales and stuff that drive me crazy, but promote people to stay on land, raise food for you. Teach these people, do you have land? Do you have the ability to build structures that you can put animals on there? Talk to your neighbors. Raise these animals, bring them to Creston Valley Meats alive, deliver them to me. I will have them harvested humanely, and I will have them cut and wrapped. We're going to take that byproduct and we're going to feed your dogs and cats with it. That is what we're going to do. You don't want those products. You don't have dogs and cats to feed. That's
Someone
okay.
else does,
I'm going to use it, and I'm going to feed other dogs and cats with it. And that is what we do. And this is why, not only as a farmer that I am, Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest is a farmer-owned business, but Creston Valley Meats is that facility that people say, well, you have competition. Yes, we do, right? Beef, we have beef harvest competition.
Yeah.
We have pork harvest, lamb harvest competition. We are one of the last of the Mohicans. We are still doing poultry. I'm excited because I just put ostriches on the harvest calendar again.
Wow.
So there's nothing we can't do. We do ray, we do emu, we do it all. But every single life that is taken there never goes to waste. Nothing is. My crew right now that are out there, I can't tell you how proud of them I am, because they can't take the human out of themselves. There's just people that can just go through the motions, right? No, these guys put every bit of love and care. And to our long-term customers, I mean, Simon, the owner, has had customers, me, but we're more than just customers and friends. But there's people that have been a part of us. I mean, I was looking at an invoice this morning because I'm doing starting end of the year stuff. He's had customers, the same customers, for the last 25 years that we have been feeding their pets. We got to, a month ago, go to a Feed Real raw food convivium in San Diego. And I laugh because we're walking into this event, right? And I'm like, Simon, she's been our customer for years. Do you even know what she looks like? No, I've only talked to her on the phone, right? And I was like, Simon, we aren't even going to know what she looks like. He's like, no, but I think I could recognize her voice. And it's funny because it was like we were checking in and you could hear her greeting people. He's like, that's Ruby. Like that. And you turn around and there's this beautiful woman that is has taken the raw food movement for pets to a whole nother level in the,
that's
in the
great.
Southland.
Wow.
They manufacture a lot of our products. We help source a ton of just different raw materials. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of hours that Simon has probably given just in conversation of understanding, the different regulations, the parts of things or where things are being sourced from, or just where the availability is on things, this is who he is, right?
Yeah.
But also who we all have been. I'm that person in the produce and business world and plants and soil and animals. There's a lot of things that I am doing today because he taught me 15 years ago. So he was another one of my shadows, that I shadowed
Well,
him.
that's why I think life is just so rich, right? And it's just so hard when you put things into a linear equation, like, okay, we're going to put this much in and we want this much out, in dollars, cents. And that's where things break down, is that those equations aren't linear, like you're saying. There's so many things that are involved and layers to each one that have a value and a matter. And things become exponentially returned. And I think that's where people need to start investing into their communities, is knowing that, hey, if I invest myself or my time, my money, my energy into something that is going to, give back to me in more ways than just like an exchange, of dollars and cents, you're going to get more out of it. And I think that's what we have to realize. That's what was invested in so much before. I mean, you look at things, everything from Victory Gardens for World War II, to all the times during the Depression, people, were low on all the food resources we had. Things became more and more creative, and people, for me, my political stance is kind of like money doesn't belong in food, education, and healthcare. I mean, those are the things that you can't really put a price on how to save somebody's life, how to feed somebody, or what to teach them.
Yeah.
Those things need to be something that is done within your community and has exponential layers and ties to it, so that we can have that regionalism and have the ability to be the people of each land. And I think that that's what we have to realize. We've kind of washed everything out, where it's like, oh, now in our country, let's say in the store, you might just find cow, pig, and chicken, but like we said, we have tons of lamb, we have ostrich, we have emu, we
quail.
have things from the ocean. Yeah, the quail we haven't got to talk about. I mean, Shawnee talked a lot about that the other day.
No, she was like, Mildy, you have quail. I'm like, not right now because it's cold.
Yeah, but
it used to be coming out of my ears.
Yeah, eating more food types. And then, same thing with our grains, same things with our fruits, where it's become this convenience package, but what price are we paying for convenience, and what is that doing to us? Like we said, even with
even look at what
education.
I'm saying. Like, we can talk about this in human food, and we have some drastic needs that need to be met that we ourselves need to take responsibility for and do. Like, we need to fix things. We need to clean things up. We have to fix the messes that we have created, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I can't tell you how much this pet world has also become, right? You can't go anywhere now without somebody having a dog. I mean, I'm laughing because I saw a lady walking a cat on a leash the other day, which was super cute, but I haven't gone that far. I do bring baby cows to town in the back seat of my truck, but I haven't done a cat on a leash yet. But, it's understanding where we've also, we've become this companion with our pets, and treating our pets like humans. Yeah. Right? I'm that person too.
Yeah.
But I'm also at that
They
part.
have a big place in
why
our
would we do that
culture.
to our animals and turn around and feed them crap?
The worst.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about, I'm telling people that they don't deserve 90% of the food at the grocery store. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to make somebody up. Most food, if people actually knew how it was raised and what they were eating, would be horrified.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. It's industrialized.
Okay, times that by 200.
Sure.
And that is what we're feeding our animals.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we doing? And also too,
Our
look at what it
livestock,
promotes.
yeah.
Look at what it's supporting. Look at, and yet people will question me as a farmer and making that choice of life versus death, quality life versus death, right? But yet, they won't even take responsibility for their own purchasing power.
Yeah.
And We are so full of excuses. We are so full of denial. And there's always somewhere for an interpretation somewhere, right? Like, well, I interpret it as this. Or,
Justification,
they're going to justify it some way or another.
Yeah.
When reality is slapping them in the face. When you don't feel good and your animals are sick all the time, where do you think that's coming from? Nobody is going to sit here and argue. It is what you eat and where you put yourself.
Yeah.
And people got to wake
it's the
up.
environment
Wake up and
factors,
figure this out.
and
Like,
that
it's
food
not
input.
that hard. It is not. And look at what you and I get to talk about. I am maybe sounding like I'm bragging a little bit, but at the same time, I'm not bragging because I'm fighting. I'm fighting for survival. I'm fighting for the rights to stay on land. People don't realize how much Williamson Act has changed. You know, Williamson Act is that tax exemption to keep open land so you can farm on it. But it's so manipulated and indifferent. And understanding how expensive it is now to hold onto land.
Yeah.
People can't afford water. People can't afford insurance. You know, but yet you see all this marketing stuff going on out there, and people are not asking the question of where it's coming from.
Yeah.
You know, and but that's okay. I got it at, Trader Joe's. Or I'm like, why are you asking me for what you are saying you want quality and safety and honesty and ethics, but then it's just okay to go get it somewhere else?
Yeah, I think there's a huge gap there, like of what our real values are, and like just having the space I'm in. We have some demonstration gardens in, and we have some things, so we're getting all this like tatsoi and things coming up again and stuff, and I'm like,
so good when it's
like,
fresh.
I guess that's what we have for greens to put into the meal and things right now. And so when you are living a little bit more connected, a little bit more in, you can say, oh, look what we have on the trees right now. What do we have here? So I think that we've lost that touch, where if everybody had some sort of skin in the game to say, or they were just sort of, doing something that was enough to realize, oh, I'm producing this much, and look what, all I can do, or how much I can do. It's surprising both ways. But then that would maybe allow us to have a better, kind of connection to what those bigger, kind of choices in voting.
Can you imagine if
blocks
you told
need.
people that the USDA was wrong about size portionings on a plate? And I mean, how about that? Like, where did that even come as realization of we needed the government to tell us what size portions we are supposed to put on a plate and what food groups, or how about the fact nutritional facts?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Like, nutritional facts labeling, really? Does anybody even know how to read that? I do, because I was trained in
Well,
it.
I think
But, I mean,
when you have to start knowing what exactly is in things, because they're putting things they shouldn't have in there, was the
but
slippery
it's not
slope
even
it's on.
food.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
That was
even-
an apple you didn't really need to know before.
But now it's an apple that has been dipped in or sprayed with or has this. But, because it was harvested 8 months ago, paraffin wax dip, put in a box, put into, a
Cold
gas
storage,
temperature, gas temperatured, climate controlled situation, and hoped that it sold, and it did, whether it went to a premium grocery store or, a discount grocery store. But guess what? It's still the same.
Yeah.
You just paid $10 for it at the premium, and you paid 50 cents at the discount place.
That's
But it's
that
the
linear
same thing.
equation they're
And
able to cash in.
Where did we devalue? Devalue what is the most important thing, all of us, including our
fuel and
animals,
our
including every bit of
health.
life. And to me, it's like, okay, so going back to this silly goat, that, silly goats, I have the S's on the end, ask my husband. When I tether them, how crazy it is to see as you move animals and you range them. There's an area that wasn't growing very much stuff. My father-in-law did some different things on it, and I needed to heal the soil. And, I started to just kind of open it up, clean it up a little bit, and then it still it couldn't, no matter how much organic material I was putting on it, it just didn't seem like it was inoculating. It
Unlocking
wasn't.
was a
Yes,
nutrient.
it was just like every couple weeks it was just, right?
Holding something.
I my kids built me a chicken tractor, right? It's my nursery benches that we used to have out in front of the
Nice.
Nature's Touch. They're just, a rectangular
Bottomless cage.
and they were just on wheels. And I just, put roosters in, because roosters are what I raise. We hatch our own, and I have roosters, and so I raise those for pet food.
And you get up early, so you don't mind.
No, I love that noise. Actually, I think it puts me into a deeper sleep. So, I put them in there, and I move them across that soil. I started to see different things inoculate. There was more of a moisture absorption. There was more of this kind of grassier look of growth, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. The grass started to get, star thistles, stickeries as it got older and the chickens were off of it. That's where I moved and I tethered the goats, which was crazy to me because I had aerated the soil the first time I saw it. Like the first time I'm like, this is going to be my future patch. I'm going to grow some food in that. I aerated it, thinking that was the first thing I needed to do. I needed to open it up, but it wasn't. I needed to layer it. Now looking back, I should have layered it, and then I should have put the chickens in. Yeah. Layered it again, and then aerated it, and then. But guess what? All this. Whoops! I didn't do that. Oh man! I should have done that. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Right? That goat. The way that he tethered around and moved that soil with his hooves.
Yeah, made his divots and that deposit fertilizer.
Josh, you should see it. He's been off for a week, and that soil, and then it rained. Yeah. It was like,
it can ask for better.
People play lotto. I don't. I move goats, but it's crazy because it's so full of life. It smells sweet. Yeah. It's like, for all of us who know what that smell is, it's like, woo.
Well, that was the right timing. Like when we did this planting last week, we're getting those rains, we're watching our grading work, and then it was like, hey, there's not a better time of the year that we could be planting and gathering water, catching water. So now my decision
is, do I put a perennial crop on it, or do I put an annual crop on it? Or do I do a biennial crop that doesn't pull so much? That might be my cover cropping, right? That could retain. Maybe some legumes, borage, maybe do some clover in it, because at the end of the day...
What's the slope on this?
It's flat.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
Flat. So what do I put on it? Because at the end of the day, I still have chickens coming up, right? That I need to size up and get them nice and healthy. Yeah. Do I sow out a perennial crop and then run them across it and look at that harvest of what I could get for seed and food for myself, but seed and food for my next poultry harvest. Yeah. Right? Like that's where
cover crop and chickens can get you further.
I'm crazy, huh? Right? Well, I think this all the time.
I think it just begets the next. Like I said, when you see those crops, when you're closer to the soil and the land, and you see things moving across it, and you realize that you can have a role in that, that is what is taking kind of that full accountability and full responsibility for. Not only yourself, like you're saying, and your family, but being able to share that harvest and being able to be here to discuss that. These are the connections that we need to get back to, and we need to have these conversations. And even just having a space here, like the olive pressing was great, where a lot of people could come together and start talking about these moments. There was a really great documentary or something I watched with these farmers in it, and they're like, some people, they like to go golfing on Saturdays. Like me and my dad, we go out and we just pull weeds and tell tall tales. So it's like, everyone to each their own, but working the land and having a relationship with the land. Like, right now, one of my aunties too this weekend brought down a bunch of lion's mane that she had harvested up off their property, and all my friends are like, hey, are we gonna go look for mushrooms soon? What are we doing?
Yeah, I brought you some. I brought some from Miguel.
Beautiful. Too. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is
giving you mushrooms. Good chanterelle mushrooms.
We're ready for these seasons. We're just laying in bed and you're hearing that rain. You're like, oh, all I know is that it's going to do this.
I can feel them growing.
Right.
And because it's warm.
The mussels are coming again. And then we're going to get really good low tides with the king tides to be able to go to the ocean and harvest, from the tide pool. So
can I tell you something about being connected with soil too? And again, this might be because this is Thanksgiving week. Maybe this is where this is internally is coming from. Can I tell you, being able to travel the world like we have, and being able to go and be a part of so many things that I'm just like, holy crap, I can't even realize how many things exciting I have been a part of, right? But can I tell you what gives me the most gratitude and the most fulfilled moment? So last Saturday night, it was warm, right? and I'm out just pulling weeds because everything's wet, seeing all this stuff, in our home garden that I just play with. I'm walking there, and then our tenants that live with us at Genesis and Iris work for me, and they live all on the ranch. And, they were walking, they were doing, helping me with animal chores. And, the sun is setting, okay? It's not quite set, but it's setting. And we're walking through the garden, and we were talking about, he's like, well, what's this? Like, Cipriano has been a part of farming for a long time. He's chosen to go the construction route now. So it's understanding, where he's come from. So I think he's like one of the most knowledgeable human beings, right? But he's sitting here talking to me. He's like, what's this? What do you do with this? How do you eat this? Like, and I'm like, to me, it's like, it's
second nature.
Yeah, this is dandelion. This stimulates respiratory. And then he's like, what's this? And I'm like, well, it's Malva. But, y'all know it as a malva. He's like, it takes the nutrients away from everywhere else. And, it draws nutrients from other plants. So that's why I'm pulling it. It's a life, right? I'm taking that life, but it's taking the life from other things that I need to get surviving. Yeah. This is why I need to pull it, or, do away with this.
Or eat it, or, if you want.
We're talking like that, right? His wife is there. Then here comes his girls. Then here comes my husband home from work, stops his truck in the driveway, gets out of his truck, comes in the garden. All of us are walking. Here comes Cody from the house. Griff comes home. Savannah comes home. Like, everybody's home, right? And we're literally in the garden. Why? Nobody planned it. Nobody expected it.
Everyone's hungry.
But guess what? No, but everybody took the time.
Everyone knew the value of that space.
Everybody stopped, and they took the time.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because as the sun started to set and it started to get cold, we didn't want to stop because it was like the day that all of us for the days are crazy, but yet to end that day on soil and being a part of a community, we had no intents to create. We're just those people. You need a place. If we can provide it, we're going to, right? That's all we are. That's all. I don't need to be anything more than who I am. Mm-hmm. And I don't ever say sorry for who I am because I actually like being who I am. But at the same time, it's like I'm just telling you, I am so thankful for those moments. Do I get a lot of those? Yes, I do actually, but I would like more of them because it's a feeling you cannot explain. Yeah. But it's time. I received time from some of the most important people in my life. Yeah. We didn't have to have a meal. We didn't have to have expectations of you got to do this.
You have to call anybody.
We didn't have to call anybody. We didn't have to plan anything. It was just those moments. Cats were running between our legs. Dogs were wrestling and digging. And chickens were going crazy because they're all going back into their nesting boxes. And, the ponies were running wild because it was warm and it was cooling down, right? Everything had a moment, right? And it was like you could not plan that.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful, yeah.
And it's like that's what I'm thankful for. Yeah. And that's what I continue to inspire more for.
I love that. Yeah. We had a whole moment where we had 60 people at the long table, eating, and the sun was setting and it started glowing through the whole room. And we're like,
it's
wow.
Magic. It's magic.
We did a good thing today. So I think that, those simple joys and pleasures and that connection is what's really going to allow us to survive. If we do ultimately lose more and more of our connection to our place and our food, it's going to create something that we're not going to recognize and our bodies aren't going to recognize. So I think it is, time to be grateful for the simple things.
We're off next Monday. We're going to be off because I'll be in Madison, Wisconsin at the Acres Farm Conference. It is the largest eco-regenerative organic farm conference in our country. There. Yep, I will be on, what's today? Today's Monday. I will be just getting out of it's 3 hours ahead. John Keff's talk. John Keff is the owner of Eco Ag Regenerative Farm. He's got an awesome podcast. He's just he's who I learned how to deal with peach leaf curl from.
Oh, very good.
We're gonna get to be a part of with him. I get to hang out with Joel Salatin.
Nice.
People don't realize, what is farming like a lunatic, or I forget all that. He's got an amazing book line.
Yeah, he's great with animals.
Yes, but Acres, ACRES. They have an awesome education line that doesn't cost very much, basic, but gets right to the point. Acres is what Organic Gardening Magazine started out to be, but Acres stayed to the point. Organic Gardening Magazine got too marketed.
Yeah.
And so I'm super honored. I get to go with Simon. Crescent Valley Meats.
Great.
Him and I are going. So we'll be gone next Monday. I come home the end of next week. And I'll bring all that knowledge that I can
Yeah.
absorb. I'm going to try to absorb it all. I am going to complain about one thing. Can Wisconsin possibly bring a little bit of California weather? Because the whole extended forecast has this thing called blowing snow. What is blowing snow? Okay, so like I'm California. Like, what is blowing snow?
You scared?
A little bit. A little bit. So, on that note,
Yeah.
happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Happy Thanksgiving, Miguel.
To you and
I'm
your family.
thankful to all of you. And I look forward to coming back from the eastern side of our country.
Yeah. Yeah. Say hi to Mark Shepard or Gary Zimmer if you see him for
they're
me.
all there
and-
too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for everyone.
All right, guys, take care.